We begin here with a proposed 2% VAT hike being the greatest point of contention, leading to the postponement of the tabling of the national budget speech. Conversations about the impact this would have on South Africans have taken centre stage. Of most concern is the already high cost of living, especially on food products. Experts have called on government to expand the implementation of its zero rating policy on certain food products to ease the impact of economic upheavals on consumers. One product proposed for targeting edible offal foods, which Hume International Managing Director Hume will alleviate food insecurity in vulnerable communities. He joins us now to expand on the conversation. Fred, a very good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, as a specialist in the food service industry, how significant could government's proposal to zero rate VAT on food, how significant will that be on households? What impact could it have? I mean, that's, of course, if it survives the national budget process.
Good evening. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Government needs to increase collections, and the 2% VAT increase, while rather regressive, I believe the regressive nature of the tax could be alleviated to some degree by zero rating essential foodstuffs, and one of those being edible offal, which we have been lobbying for quite extensively to have zero rated. Which is contrary to the local industry, which has been actively lobbying for individually quick frozen chicken portions to be zero rated. We believe that this would be the wrong move. Firstly, it would cost the fiscus a lot of money. Secondly, because of rather questionable anti-dumping duties and very high import duties, there's limited competition in this sector. As importers, we've been shut out of this segment of the market, and we believe that if this item was to be zero rated, local producers would simply increase price over time in the absence of competition, and the beneficiaries of this reduction in cost the benefits of this reduction in cost would be negated largely.
Yeah, I mean, as you speak about the entire value chain or aspects of it, in efforts to alleviate food insecurity, what could a tax break on offal mean for vulnerable communities?
Well, by the stroke of a pen, 15 or 17%, whichever one's in play at the time, would come off the cost. We are also actively going out and saying, why not then waive the import duty on edible offal, which is really only consumed by lower LSM or vulnerable consumers. That would knock another 30% off. So effectively, you could almost halve the cost of essential protein in a country where malnourishment is rife. I can't see why you wouldn't want to do this.
I know that your line of business, of course, also involves individually quick frozen chicken portions. In what ways do you think that a focus on these chicken portions could have on domestic poultry producers? I mean, rather than just looking at the consumers, the producers themselves, how will they be impacted?
Well, I firmly believe that it would increase the demand for their product. But the point I made earlier was that South Africa has already introduced massive anti-dumping duties up to in excess of 250%, which means that we as importers effectively can't import bone-in chicken. Over the course of the last 7 or 8 years, volumes have declined tenfold. As a country, when 7-8 years ago, we were importing 30 to 35,000 metric tons of bone-in chicken a month. This is down to less than 3,000 metric tons now. So that puts it in perspective.
And what has influenced the decline? Pardon me, what has influenced the decline?
It's all to do with these questionable anti-dumping duties, which have been imposed at the behest of the local producers, in addition to very, very high general tariffs of up to 82%, making the poultry industry in South Africa, one of the most well-protected industries in our economy.
And what would you say in terms of the kind of policy interventions that government can put in place to improve food sustainability? What would they look like?
I do believe that you always do need an alternative to domestic production. And what should you be looking at doing then? Well, I would say you want to enhance market access, which means that we need to constantly be looking to expand our network of trading partners. We need to be looking to reopen markets soon after them being declared free of bird flu in many cases. We need to consider the phytosanitary measures such as heat treatment of product on arrival. All of this would assist in enhancing access to product, and it would also reduce the cost of sale. So these are factors we believe that government could consider, and then certainly, of course, and well, let's call them then anti-competitive, anti-trade, protectionist, anti-dumping duties.
Yeah, being the operative word there. And very lastly, before we let you go, I mean, you specifically emphasize edible offal as opposed to offal. What may I ask are the differences?
Well, there are other offals that could be used in animal feed. So, many of these are already zero rated. So we're specifically focusing on edible offals for human consumption. And one of them, I must make the point, South Africa introduced chicken livers onto the menu of the school feeding scheme. These currently attract an import duty of 30%. And certainly, if we're not going to do anything else, let's waive the duty on this and certainly consider waiving or scrapping VAT on this commodity.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for weighing in on the discussion and speaking to us this evening. Leaving the discussion there, International Managing Director Fred Hume of Hume International there, joining us there to speak about ways to alleviate food insecurity and, of course, the proposal to zero rate VAT.